Hey, so today is the 19th, like I promised, even though I'm a little tired from yesterday. I'm here, I am making my 1 year on testosterone video because yesterday was 1 year of me being on a real dose of tea and, having any actual changes. So, wahoo! 1 year! What? I guess I'll do the voice thing. Hi, I'm Lil. This is my voice 1 year on testosterone. And um, the last year has been something. It wasn't even just transitioning stuff, there was a lot of other things going on as well. But yeah, it's been a lot. um, but hey, I got through it. I got this from this year. The side of my beard now doesn't grow in quite so patchy and actually grows in more even. And instead of being like completely blonde, they now have some red in them so you can see them better, which is good. And I think they're just slightly longer too. Um, my body hair darkened up a little bit. I always had body hair, but it's definitely darkened in, so that's nice. Because again, it's not pure blonde, so you can see it. My voice definitely changed over the last year. It definitely got deeper than it was, and that's great. Thankfully, I do not seem to have any balding issues whatsoever. I already had a squarish hairline, so that seems to have been great. Did get acne like crazy, but it was worth it. Um, More body odor and a lot more sweat and heating issues and stuff, but totally worth it. And so many health conditions fixed and mental health conditions fixed. I still can't believe that I can officially, in 2 days, say it's been a year since I've been depressed chronically. Like, chronic depression used to just be my life. Like, period. Just my life. And in 2 days, I'll be able to say, hey, for a year of my life, it has not been my life. And that's just incredible to me. Been life changing for sure for me. Um, if anyone, I don't know, this is the first video you ever watched. I was born intersex and didn't know about it. And in my adulthood, doctors started telling me things about almost a decade ago, and like a full decade. And I couldn't handle that. And everything, even though my entire life I thought of myself as a boy in a lot of things, and I wished I was a boy. And when I dreamt um, I was a boy, um, it was still extremely difficult for me to accept because of how I grew up, and um, I was actively punished for masculinity, and grew up very, very strict religious viewpoints and stuff, and was told I was a sinner just for existing, just for having been born, and that it would be better if my mother had bashed my head against the rocks as a baby than to let me grow up to be who I am. So, yeah, lots of stuff, and I mean, she was telling me that when I was young, not even just since I started openly transitioning, but I did start openly living as a man before I took tea. I went through a lot of therapy, and I got to a point where I could accept that the doctors were telling me I really needed to do this, or I was going to have long term repercussions, that my health was going to get really bad, and I was going to have terrible things like early onset osteoporosis and stuff. And they also said my depression would dissipate, and I did not believe them, but I thought, well, maybe it'll get a little better. So I started taking the testosterone, and at first they gave me this really low dose, the first doctor who did it, because he was worried because I produced so much testosterone naturally. I already had a beard, I already had body hair, and you know some significant masculine things, but basically they were like, you really need to do this. So I did it, but then the first doctor was so worried about how much testosterone I was naturally producing and interfering with that that he gave me basically almost none, and nothing happened for a while. It went up just slightly. I had 200 and something as my highest natural testosterone that I had made myself before I ever started testosterone therapy, hormone replacement therapy, and it went to 280. So it went from 2 something that I don't remember to 280, and was being my new highest. And it was like, that's like no change. That's still under 300, which means I'm still unhealthy for a male. Um, and again, I've said this before in other videos, but if you've never seen anything until this one, healthy for a girl is like 16, 20, somewhere in there, for testosterone. So I've always been in male ranges, not female ranges for testosterone. But I was still forced to act and live like I was female, even though I was not. Anyway, obviously very damaging for my psyche, being forced into all of that, and horrible hormone issues my entire life, and it was really, really bad. And the doctors did the same thing they would do to any man who came in with low testosterone like I had: get him on hormone replacement therapy, because um, the side effects of really low testosterone for a man are really, really horrible. And I had been living with them my whole life. Anyway, uh, the next doctor gave me a more regular dose that any trans person would call, pretty average, and things started happening real fast. When I started taking that testosterone, I started on December 18th last year, and it was fast. It was really fast. I mean, the first 3 months, I had so many physical changes to report, or emotional, mental changes to report. I had to do some therapy, just relearning how to live, with some of my habits that were based completely upon my chronic depression I had before, and my suicidal ideation and stuff that I had. And it was nuts. And again, the darkening and the voice changing and stuff, all of these kinds of things all happened very quickly for me. Probably because I do already have testosterone that my body makes, and because I already was intersex. But it was very fast, and then it just stopped. So I do not have some of the telltale things that most trans guys get. Sadly, I don't have real bottom growth. Um, I had a flat skin. I very sad. I'm very upset about it, but I don't know what to do about it except pursue surgery someday. But yeah, I either was born deformed down there, or else some sort of surgery was done to me as a baby down there, and I don't know which, because I was born in, you know, tiny little blurb of a place in Alaska, and unfortunately, the only person who would know that for sure would never tell me. So I don't know, but it is unfortunately very likely that something was done to me down there. But basically, I didn't have normal anatomy for a woman involves like having a clitoris and stuff. I did not have any of that. Um, I just had flat skin. There was no hood. There was no nothing. And when the bottom growth thing started, there was like a hard lump under my skin, and then it eventually punctured its way through the skin. In the skin split in a straight line up and down, and it came out through the middle, and now I look more like a girl than I did before. So it's horrible. I hate it. It sucks. It's the worst thing about transitioning for me thus far. Um, but at the same time, that is what happened. So I have to live with it. I have to deal with it temporarily until I can get bottom surgeries. Um, which I absolutely am pursuing. Um, because I can't live like this forever. But it helps me to remind myself constantly that it's temporary, and I can talk about it now significantly better than I used to be able to. I used to be able to not even like hardly speak about it. So therapy. If you've never tried therapy, try some therapy. Uh, uh, especially if you grew up in abusive environments and stuff. It sucks growing up like that, and it definitely does something to you, and you do need help getting emotionally to a more healthy place, and to where you can deal with life in a more capable way. Um, anyway, speaking of surgeries, I am hopefully less than 7.5 months away from a top surgery. I don't know exactly when because it's not scheduled, but based on what the um, surgeon's office informed me of. So that's something. Yay! I really, really want my top surgery, um, like really bad. And our family, we did Christmas all early, and we went the second week of December to visit my spouse's family in Ohio. And her mom is a seamstress, and she took me shopping to get a bunch of new clothes. So I actually have more than, like 5 shirts and 2 shorts and 3 pants. I actually have like a wardrobe now. She got me like a new waterproof coat for when I take walks. I'm not going to be soaked all the time anymore. And some new shoes. And she got me this shirt and a lot of shirts that are like this that have the collar but that are like short sleeved, and then some long sleeve shirts and pants and shorts and all that. So I officially have a nice masculine wardrobe that supposedly fits me decently well and looks nice on me or whatever, and um, helps add to masculine effects or however you want to say that. But yeah, she got me clothes and stuff. So and that was like exciting all by itself. That was really really exciting. I've been telling all my friends I have clothes. um, so yay, I have clothes. But also, um, when we got back, just a few days later, we had our family Christmas. So we got back at the airport on Tuesday night, and then yesterday was our family Christmas. So the day before that was Christmas Eve. So I had like 2 days to clean the house from the kittens tearing it to shreds. They didn't really tear it to shreds, but they they scattered their litter all over. They were pretty dirty. So I had to clean the whole house and get all the laundry cleaned and get us repacked and pack all the presents and everything into the car and drive down to my sister's. And we had our big family Christmas there. And I got even more trans supportive presents. Um, I got like arm weights, which is very exciting to me because I don't like feeling weak. I have always been someone who can put on muscle pretty easily. I do have to keep my weight under a certain amount so I can get my top surgery because insurance requires a BMI index thing, which is so dumb because BMI doesn't care how much muscle a person has. So I can't gain weight over a certain amount. And I do have fat, but the fat doesn't come off very easily at all. Um, it's genetics. So um, my doctor said that it's eat your foods thinking about your ancestors and what they were eating to put on pounds and avoid those things because I have a great thyroid and I have a super low metabolism, even though I am not like completely sedentary all the time 24/7. So, um, like I was walking, 2 to 5 hours a day, every single day, and intermittent fasting at least 16 hours every other day, and eating 500 to 900 calories. and still it took a while to lose some weight. Um, it's just unfortunately um, what everyone in my family, for the most part, is shaped like is this. So it sucks, but at the same time, I feel like if I can gain a little muscle and then lose a little more weight and not do the muscle for a little bit and then do a little more muscle, maybe I can do that. But I would really, really like to use my arm weights that I got, because one of the things that can happen for some trans people when they, start taking testosterone is a body recomposition. And that didn't really happen for me at all. I lost an inch off my hips, and that's it. Nothing else really happened except that I do have a little bit more of a dip right here over these muscles, and nothing else. So that's also probably because I already had such high testosterone levels my whole life over what like a female would have. So someone going directly from being full blown assigned female at birth and was not intersex the whole time, with their really low levels of testosterone, getting hit with new testosterone would have a more exuberant change thing going on than someone who's been secretly, well, not secretly, secretly is the wrong word, unbeknownst intersex the whole time and had it in between testosterone. I don't really know how to say testosterone that was in the 100s and um, basically just sort of there causing some changes already in my life since I was very young. Um, Probably also affected whether my body was gonna do recomposition and stuff. Like, on the plus side, I lost my period as soon as I started taking testosterone. I didn't have to wait. On the sad side, a lot of things with my body had already been decided over the years by my body, or however you want to say that. My hormones were already settled into where they wanted me to be, however you want to say that. I don't know. Anyway, so I would like to be able to start working with the arm weights and stuff and actually build my upper body up some, since it didn't actually really do that on its own. I do still have more muscle than, like an average girl would or whatever. Um, I always did my whole life, but like even when I was in like grade school and stuff, like the other girls would always be like coming to me for anything that required. They didn't want to go to the boys. The boys wouldn't accept me because I wasn't a boy, and the girls didn't really accept me because I was weird and a freak. But they liked to come to me when, say, there was a spider, or they needed help lifting something, or you know, because I wasn't a boy, but I also wasn't like the person hanging out with them all the time, so they could come and get me when they had a use for me, whatever. Anyway, I've always had that extra whatever over what a girl has, but it's way less than what I feel like I would like to have as a man, and honestly, less than what I would have liked to have even before when I was thinking of myself still as like non-gendered. So, um, I would really like to be able to get up to that, but I do have to be careful. I can't just gain muscle because insurance requires me to be under a certain BMI. So, sucks, but at the same time, I can't stand only walking, and I'm really excited about the weights. Um, I got a new wallet because my wallet's pretty old, and that's exciting, and it's a nice leather one. I got a ball cap and like a new shirt and stuff, and a bunch of video game stuff, which is always yay. Um, but one of the things that I got yesterday was um, this like piece of artwork that my brother got me, and it was Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII. Um, but he got it custom made for me, and he's kind of like got his back turned, like like with his shoulder slumped just slightly on one side, like he's shedding a burden, and obviously his big giant sword. on the other side and stuff. But he's just looking back over his shoulder like he's, I don't know, like he's saying goodbye to the thing he's shedding. And, that's very befitting for Cloud. And my brother apparently had this sent to France to be made, this idea, this image or whatever. And so I have this piece of art from France now that was custom made for me. But he wrote me this big letter with it. And he said that, he saw a lot of correlations between me and Cloud Strife because, spoilers for the game, if you've never played Final Fantasy VII, first of all, why haven't you? Go play it. Um, it's one of the greatest games that was ever made. If you've ever even thought about playing a role playing game, an RPG, just play it. You won't be sad that you did, kind of a thing. But it is one of the better games, like role playing games that's ever been made, and it there's plenty of people to back me up on that. Um, but secondly, um, he got us a PS5 and he got the game Final Fantasy VII Remake for PS5 to go with it. So we don't own a TV, so that's something that is next on our big purchases now so that we can play it. He stood in line for 8 hours to get me a PS5 and get me that game to go with the art that he got me. So he went all out to show me just how much he is supportive. But he wrote me this letter where, spoilers again, Cloud Strife is in the games. He comes across to everybody like he's a soldier, which is a class of military personnel who's like really elite or whatever. And he comes across as he's like this badass and stuff. And later on, it turns out that he actually took on that persona of someone who actually was a soldier who died in front of him when he was just a little peon military guy. And he wasn't strong enough to be considered a soldier by the military. But he was there when the main bad guy did stuff, and he saw stuff, and he was there when his friend who was a soldier died, and he took on his identity basically. So he got really messed up in his psyche because he genuinely, when he was a kid, believed he was going to be a soldier and he was going to be strong enough and he was going to be, you know, brave enough and he was going to be this person. And nobody else believed it when he actually went to go do it. And then he had this friend who was a soldier and he took on that friend's identity and carried it onward and became a soldier. And then people found out that he hadn't been one and they didn't believe him again. And he really, really got like really messed up. And, he loved this girl and he couldn't protect her right, and that messed him up too. Like he really really got messed up because again he always believed he was going to be that person, and it just kept not happening for him. And he finally got to a point where you follow through the end of the game, he saves the whole world, and everybody was wrong the whole time and he had been right when he was a little boy. He was that hero. And that's basically what my brother wrote. And then he said, that's why he saw so much correlation between, you know, the story and of Cloud Strife's story and mine, because he saw me this same way. And he saw me as so brave and having this perseverance. And he said, you know, how much I inspired him and how proud he was not just of me, but to be my little brother, and that having me for a big brother was like a dream come true, and that I was a good role model for his sons, a male role model for his sons, and that Cloud wouldn't have gotten there without being hardworking and not giving up and being that brave, and also having loving, supportive people around him. And he wanted me to know that I had loving, supportive people around me too, because the majority of my family doesn't even pretend I exist anymore. And I, for the most part, ignore that. And I mean, they were never really super close with me to begin with, so them ostracizing me my whole life kind of led to this whole mutual disowning thing as an adult. Um, but still, you know, it meant a lot. It was very, very touching. I cried quite a bit, and then I read it again later, and I cried again. um, cried a lot for me, anyway. It was super, super touching, like really, really touching. So, I'm gonna hang it up right here above my computer so that I can look up at it all the time when I go play video games or when I'm at my computer doing chores or, whatever. I can always look up at it. um, and remember, you know, that I'm the badass. That I'm the cool badass. I'm not the little peon. The I'm not the little doormat. Because I've definitely struggled with that in my life. And anyway, it was very, very touching. I'm still shocked, and I told all my friends about it and stuff. In both of the trans support groups I'm in, and like there's all these sobbing reactions and stuff, and people being like, "Oh my God, wow," and stuff. Um, you know, but I also told our actual like just gamer friends, and I don't usually talk about trans stuff around them, but I told them that too, just because like it was so touching. And I know he watches these videos, so he's gonna see this, so thank you, bro. I didn't know when I first started making these videos he was watching them, but he told me later he was. So it was just it was just a very like impactful gift. Um, One of my Christmas presents that I didn't get to unwrap was that my girlfriend's paying for me to have therapy here, which I appreciate. And then the other one was she pre-ordered me some trans boxers made by a trans guy that have a packer like actually sewn into them, so you don't have to worry about strapping a packer onto your waist or trying to put it in a little pocket and it falling out, or a roll of socks falling out, or whatever. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff because it's built in. um, so when you go in public, you can be packing without being insecure, and it doesn't like slosh all over the place and stuff, um, because it's actually designed specifically to be worn that way, because bottom surgery is going to be a long time. I'm trying to just accept that bottom surgery takes a long time. And even once you get your first surgery, you're not really done, like remotely, at all. There's still a lot more surgeries to go. And um, bottom surgery is a years long thing. And um, top surgery, I haven't been getting like tape. I haven't been getting a binder because I keep telling myself, it'd be a waste because it's coming up so fast. That's not necessarily true, but I that's how I try to think of it. So I try to think of, top surgery, you know, it's gonna be here before I know it, and bottom surgery, that's not true. So to help with my dysphoria and my problems, and the fact that I can't seem to grow bottom growth for nothing, um, she got these, but there are some that were already there, but she thought I would like the pre-orderable ones better, so um, I have to wait for those to get here. But um, I'm excited for them. I'm excited to feel hopefully less crappy about below the waist. above the knee, however you want to describe that. I'm hoping the weights will help me feel better with, my torso some. Top surgery will just flat out help a lot with my torso because the more I lose weight, the more that I haven't had top surgery becomes noticeable. And I think that part of the reason that I have been able to pass so much and people just look at me and see a guy is definitely that I can grow a beard, but I already could. I just shaved it all the time. But um, the, uh, the other thing that makes me think that is when I first started presenting myself as male, um, I think my clothes gave away a lot that I wasn't. Um, Even though I had this beard that was right here, and I kept the rest of this all trimmed down because, again, it grew in patchy and it was blonde. But I still had this right here, and people still would make the mistake more often. And getting clothes that fit in a more masculine way and that don't show off my body in quite the same way as the way that girls' clothes are designed to and stuff, it really, really seems to have helped quite a bit. But the problem is the less gut I get or whatever, the more my chest protrudes, and then I'm worried I'm gonna have problems with passing again or something. Um, Hopefully, my deep voice and my beard can carry me through to top surgery, because again, I have to keep the fat going down if I want to get the muscle because of the stupid BMI index thing. So we will see how I manage all of this stuff and juggle it, but um, hopefully it doesn't like get too bad or too uncomfortable or anything. Because I really, really would like to, you know, focus more on the muscle. Like I would really like to do that. I used to do that, and I felt so much better when I was doing that. When I was like doing calisthenics and I was doing, genuine muscle work. Like I felt so much better about myself, just like strength wise and confidence wise and stuff. It helped me through a lot of processing to be doing that, and I would really like to get back into a place where I can. So I'm gonna try to juggle these things. Um, I have probably this year, by December 18th, 2022, or whatever. This upcoming year, I probably will have finished top surgery, which is like, yay, and maybe started consults for bottom surgery. Um, I'm going to need to see more than one doctor about consults for bottom surgery because I want some specific things, and I want to make sure that the doctor that I end up going with actually is capable and can do all of that. Like it's really important to me. Um, Bottom surgery is insanely important to me, so um, I'm gonna do it with care or whatever. And I lucked out into my top surgeon. She's not like the best of the best, but she is definitely not bad, and I'm totally good with that. As long as it's good, I don't care if it's perfect. You know what I'm saying? And I always have healed up really well from like scarring and stuff, so I'm not even really worried about that. I I just am not. Um, so as long as the lines are straight, that's really what's more important to me. And she can do that. So hey, but my bottom surgery, I want microsurgery. I want sensation. I want functionality. And it's a lot easier if a person just wants looks, or to pee standing up can be a little harder, but when you want, you know, things like that, it gets more involved. Like some people can just do bottom surgery and they're like, hey, I can have a penis of any size and it doesn't matter, whatever. I just want to have a penis and have it look like a penis and ta-da, yay, I'm happy. And I'm not that simple. I have had um, phantom limb syndrome of a penis since I was pretty young, and um, I can feel the weight of it. I can feel what sizes it is, and I can feel um, all of this. Anyway, the point is it's I need something comparable to more than just visuals, basically. So I will hopefully be able to start seeing consults for bottom surgery. If I get really lucky and somehow arbitrary wait times and wait lists and stuff aren't too terrible, which um, they seem to be because of the pandemic. So this would be very unlikely. Maybe I could start electrolysis, but it does not seem very likely. So screw you, pandemic. Um, please go get vaccinated. Make life a little less horrible for all us poor trans people. Um, the big thing is, um, if I can get top surgery done and if I can start consults into that, that would be pretty significant. But I also this year, I'm I'm gonna have to figure something out about my name changing. I can't stand it. It the only time at this point that people really actively misgender me and stuff is when my name comes up and I can see the confusion on their face. It sucks. I just really can't stand it. And so by by the next December 18th, my name's going to be fixed. I really need that to happen. Um, Also, hopefully, at some point this summer, we will be getting divorced, my spouse and I, amicably. We're still going to live together, still going to be family, but that'll open the door for me to finally, hopefully, be able to get a part time job, and that will make me feel a lot better about myself financially. And uh, honestly, it might make me feel better about myself just at all. But also, even besides all the finances and stuff, um, it'll leave the availability for me to possibly get put on a kind of insurance that might be needed for bottom surgery, whereas right now I can't do anything that could jeopardize my spouse's SSI. I can't earn more than a certain amount. I can't, like, it's really, really difficult. And surgeons don't tend to take insurance in the first place, and it's all even harder with it being limited to Medicaid. So usually you find the surgeon you want and then you get an insurance they'll take. And I will have the availability to do that after we're divorced and actually not pay 100,000 or more on surgeries. I'm assuming more like 200 and something thousand. Don't want that. So, yay. But we can't get divorced until after we've been here for a year. And then the state of Washington has a 90-day period once you file for an amicable divorce where you have to have time to quote unquote think it over and make sure. And we've already been thinking this over for quite a while. We were actually going to get divorced last summer, except we ended up moving instead. So, um, yeah. Um, but yes, I will still be taking care of my spouse and we'll still be family and everything. But at least next year, her family said that they want to do the whole us come out to Ohio and visit them and stuff like that thing again at some point. And hopefully next year, I will not be getting a full blown pat down. That's a thing. If you have never done TSA uh, as a trans person, if you're in, the process of transitioning, just be aware if you travel. Thankfully, I had already seen other trans people talk about this, so in case you didn't know, if you go traveling, when they do this body scannings and stuff to check you for weapons and stuff, they're also checking your heat signatures. And they are expecting girls to have heat signatures where breasts are and guys to have heat signatures where penises are. And because your heat signatures might not be in the right places, they will be basically required to pat you down. And search you and make sure that things are correct. So to avoid too much of a pat down below, I wore pants with zippers on the pockets so that I could say, oh, hey, it's just the pockets have zippers. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, dude, I see the zippers. Um, the upper chest, they basically just go across like this above the tops of things because, they're not trying to actually grope anything. They're trying to make sure, why is this happening? So basically, I was like a guy with moobs, man boobs. So, you know, pro tip, not pro tip, I don't know, wear zippers on your pockets or something like that so that the bottom not having the correct expected heat signature or whatever is explainable, why the sensor would be going off down there. And then your chest, they're gonna just run across up here. So just I don't know a way around that. They're going to do that. They're going to check your chest, but it's not bad. It's not like creepy or sexual in any way, shape, or form. And the whole time, the first guy when we were going to Ohio was like, "Oh, sorry, man, I gotta check this out." And he was like, "I'm gonna check." Yeah, and I said the zipper thing, and he said, "I see the zippers." And then, he said, "I'm gonna put my hand over across the top of your chest." And I was like, "Okay." So he did that, and then it was fine. The second guy, he was in Ohio, and the whole time he was so confused. He was like, "I'm so sorry about this, dude. I don't know what's wrong, man, because I have the beard, and even with the mask on, you can see the beard hanging down, and he can hear my deep voice, and he's like, here by Seattle, obviously he had encountered a trans person or two, but the guy in Ohio definitely didn't seem like he understood what was happening at all. He was just like, "Man, I don't know what's wrong. Oh, you got these zippers down here. Oh, this makes so much more sense, man. Man, I'm so sorry about your zippers like that." And then he's like, "I gotta touch your chest. I'm so sorry, my dude." It was so funny because he was so confused why he was having to do this. It was entertaining. He was like, "You have a great day, guy," or "Dude, I'm so sorry, my guy." Like he kept saying stuff like that. He was like, "This was ridiculous." He was very confused, but it was funny, and he kept reinforcing that he definitely thought I was male, so that he was definitely not trying to insinuate I wasn't male. It was funny. Um, but yeah, the first guy, it was all just like, "Oh yeah, whatever." And the second guy was all like, "Don't be offended, man. I'm not calling you a sissy." Like, I don't know. It was funny. Um, but hopefully there'll be a little bit less of that as an issue because once I have top surgery, I won't have upper heat signatures. And then obviously I will wear pants with zippers on the pockets to explain the bottom. Um, so thank you to all three of the trans guys who have warned me ahead of time about the TSA. Um, if I helped another trans person with that, yay. I'm glad I could help you. Um, um, the last year has definitely been a lot, but I am so still grateful to my therapist who was in New York, who gave me my letters. And then when they needed my letter adjusted, she adjusted it like right away that same weekend. She always went out of her way for me, and I really appreciate that. My new therapist seems to be pretty good. We addressed some pretty uncomfortable things the last time, so I'm assuming that's good. You're not supposed to feel necessarily. You're supposed to feel comfortable with the person you're talking to. You're not supposed to necessarily feel comfortable, if that makes sense. And she basically wants me to sit in my feelings, which is what my first therapist wanted me to do. But specifically, my feelings that are triggering, that I feel basically all the time, and to be aware of things that are making me feel that those levels rise, which would be, the shame, obviously, that I have grown up with my whole life for being the weirdo. And literally, when I was younger, I got called a monster. Um, Being born not perfectly correct or whatever, which, you know, sometimes can be less horrible. Like, say, like some people, they bring up cleft palates with babies. And, they get the cleft palate fixed and then they can go on and lead a pretty decently normal, regular, whatever. But when it's your genitalia and it's your hormones and all of that, it gets really societally unacceptable really fast. And especially when I was younger, there was so much ignorance about such stuff, and nobody even knew what to call it. So, like, the possibility of me being trans or me being a boy and not a girl was never even an option. It was that I had to be a horrible, sinful lesbian or something, like some sort of sexual deviant. It couldn't possibly be that someone made a mistake somewhere. That was like an unfathomable thing. And now my parents won't accept that a mistake was made somewhere because doctors are owned by Big Pharma. But man, they are really sucking at their jobs because they aren't getting me on a bunch of pharmaceuticals. I am not taking any drugs or anything. The only thing I'm taking is my testosterone and my iron that I've been taking since I was 12, 13, whatever it was. And then uh, technically I still have albuterol. Got diagnosed with that when I was 7. So if they're trying to sell stuff for the drug companies, man, they are not doing their job very well. The other thing is I've got 6 different doctors at this point who've all second opinioned my health. And you would think at least one of them would be honest and tell me they were all wrong or something. They can't every single doctor be owned by Big Pharma. That's like saying every single lawyer only lies and cheats and never ever is there a lawyer who actually genuinely wants to help people. Like that's not true. That's just not true. It's a generalization. So at some point there had to be, you know, a quote unquote Republican doctor that my parents could believe, and yet they all have agreed across the board. So, yeah, sometimes babies just come into the world, thousands of them a year, with characteristics from both sexes, and it just happens. And the baby didn't get to choose that. They just have to now deal with this life that was handed to them and do the best with it that they can. And I wish more people would be understanding about that. But anyway, um, I'm hoping this next year also that I can, I don't know, maintain my testosterone levels, which seems not to be a problem, but maybe really gradually over time bottom growth will get bigger or something or do something or happen at all. Um, I don't know. Some people say that if you lose weight, it can help with the size of things. So I'm hoping if I keep pushing the exercising and stuff, that maybe that can help. Um, I don't know if that's just a like thing somebody made up or not. I haven't been able to find anything one way or the other about whether or not that's medically accurate. I know that can be accurate for penises, that some men, if they get really overweight and then they start losing weight, that their penis can seem bigger. But I haven't found anything about that for bottom growth. But there's so little information about bottom growth because it's such an understudied thing, first of all, just trans health in general. But even besides that, it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about. And it takes quite a bit of therapy to get to a point where you can discuss something that's so like gut wrenching. um, so I understand why there's not like, thousands of trans guys every year coming forward about their bottom growth. Like, you know, I understand. I've been trying really hard for the past year to be as open about my situation and my health and my physical body as I can, because I feel like even all these trans guys that I look to for, advice, and I watch videos of, and read their posts and stuff, like none of them are intersex. And I don't think I'll ever become popular or anything on YouTube or something, but if like one guy ever happens to come across me and he was also born intersex, maybe it would help him. And so I just keep hoping that someday that will happen for somebody. Um, but also, it helps me to make the videos and to be able to like look back on how far I've come. And I feel like 5 years from now, I'm just gonna like rewatch every single video all the way through, and just look at my life and look at how much it paid off, my courage, because it does. It takes so much courage and resilience to do this, and to accept that you are different, and that you can do things to help yourself, and those things are long term and painful, but you can do them. And I just keep thinking 5 years from now, you know, hopefully I will be past the surgeries. I really hope they don't take so long as that. Um, really, really hope that. I don't want to be 45 and still trying to physically transition. That would just be very, very soul crushing. Um, but at the same time, I'll at least be past some of it. And I think even a year from now, I'll at least be past some of it. I A year from now, there should be no reason why I didn't get my top surgery, unless the pandemic just like kills off my surgeon or something. Which please, please, no, universe, don't do that. Also, she seems like a nice person, so. But um, I I mean, for the most part, there shouldn't be, unless something crazy happens, a reason why I don't get top surgery. Hopefully, I can figure out something about my name change. I'm really thinking they've got to open up something. They've got to make something. I'm gonna call around or something. I don't know. After the holidays are done, after the first of the year, that's one of my big goals, is to start investigating that or whatever. And just those two things, even if nothing else in the next year can happen, those are both huge, massive, like insanely large reliefs. Like how far I will have come in another year if just those two things, and even if nothing else can happen, is still just tremendous. And that's not including that for the next year I'm still going to be doing therapy, and I'm still going to be taking my testosterone. You know, those are also important things, but they're not like these, they're gradual, they're very gradual things. Who knows? Maybe by December next year, I won't have acne all over my body anymore. That would be nice. That would be exciting. You know, I don't even have to think 5 years from now, because in reality, even a year from now, it's just going to be such a significant improvement. And that's how I feel about the past year. A year ago, I was really struggling. A year ago, I was still chronically depressed. A year ago, I was trying so hard to come to terms with, like, that I was starting testosterone, and, that I was stepping away from being non gendered lesbian into, hey, everybody, I'm a guy. Like, I started doing the hey, I'm a guy thing, I think. I started doing that, I think, January of last year, something like that, and then like came out to everybody who was close to me by March, and then everybody else by like May. I don't remember exactly, but it was something like that. So I had not been openly living as a man for even a year by the time I started testosterone. Like, I was still very much in a very distraught place. I had only done enough therapy to prove that, to insurance that my gender dysphoria was not based on childhood abuse or any other disorders. You know, that same year. Like, I really, really had to work my butt off to even be able to have the opportunity to start T. And then the doctors were so excited that I was going to be on T. And the only hiccup was that I do produce so much testosterone. But a year later, it turns out my body is thriving. I before could make like 200 ish, somewhere between 60 to 200 was always what my testosterone was my whole life. Like, it was between those ish ranges, like, not exactly, but between those. So it was mostly in the 100 and something area. Um, and they were worried, that my body would, instead of continuing to produce testosterone, would shut that down, whole system down, and, you know, just become dependent on the sub-Q injections. And the sub-Q injections are doing great, and my personal testosterone levels are doing great. I am taking a dose of testosterone that should put me around 450, 500-ish, maybe 600 tops. I'm at 900 basically. I'm at 880 and have been maintaining that. So my body is actually making more like 300 and something. So even if for some reason, something went wrong with my testosterone, for a while at least, I would actually be not immediately, instantly, while trying to get my testosterone back, going back into the horrors of before testosterone, which is really significant and awesome. Yay, awesome. So after a year on testosterone, my body is super happy, thriving. I'm having like almost no health problems, period. Like, I'm in such freaking good health and good mental health, and that's awesome. And a year ago, I couldn't say that. A year ago, they were worried about my health. A year ago, they were really excited for me to get on T so that I could stop having all these problems. And a year ago, they were telling me depression would go away, and I didn't believe it. I was like, you're exaggerating. Um, I was hopeless. And then I gained hope. And it's been, yes, transformative in some ways physically. Again, my voice was not this deep a year ago, but it's been so transformative as far as my quality of life. And things aren't perfect, and I still have struggles, and I still get sad sometimes. I still have lots of things to deal with, and all that, but it's just so significantly improved over where I was a year ago. And I'm so glad that I kept making the videos, even though I was making them quite often, and now I'm making them more like once a month-ish, twice a month-ish. Um, but still, I'm so glad that I've kept doing this, and I intend to keep doing this. And a year from now, I intend to have a year's worth of more videos, um, to look back on and appreciate appreciate everybody who's been supportive and kind and there for me, and appreciate how impressive I am. I'm very, very impressed with myself, because it's been a lot. Like 2 years ago, I was so broken. 2 years ago, I was having panic attacks about gender. I was literally spending my entire therapy session just freaking out about gender. Just that. Like, 2 years ago, I was not in a good place at all. I was very, very distraught. I had no sense of self. and was completely just lost in being worthless and Frankenstein's monster. And 2 years ago, I wanted to go and crawl under someone's crawl space under their house and just never get up again. Just curl up in a fetal position, and maybe a few months later, they would find my body. And I'm not like that anymore at all. I I can't undo that so much of my life was wasted in a miserable state. Just so much of my life was just this struggle in vain. I can't undo that. But I am trying and I'm working my butt off and I am putting in the hours and the effort and gonna try my freaking hardest to make sure that the rest of my life isn't like that. I can't change over 30 years lost to just torture and despair, and I can't undo it. But I'll be damned if the next more than 30 years is going to be like that. I'm not going to let it happen. And I am very very proud that in 2 years I've gone from that to this. And I'm very proud that in a year I went from where I was to this. And I'm excited to a year from now be even more proud. So, yay for anniversaries. Anniversaries remind us of the milestones. And I've sure as hell got some. But, yeah. I'm really, really glad for the last year. I'm really grateful for the last year. As hard as it's been and as many struggles as I've had, I am just so grateful. Anyway, that's how I feel after this anniversary. And again, sorry I couldn't record yesterday, but it was literally our family's Christmas. So, one day late. It's okay.